Hey folks, look at this. Beautiful, beautiful Swiss steak. Now this has been decorated a little bit, served with a little bit of mashed potatoes and some garnish, but the real trick is the way that steak is prepared. So watch this video and you're going to find a recipe that will absolutely blow your mind. Hey guys, welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. Hey, on this episode, it's going to be Swiss steak. Now, Swiss steaks, fabulous. This is comfort food for me. Something that is so easy to make, so delicious. I'll tell you what, if you want a recipe that you're not going to have to put a lot of work into, but you can impress people with, this is it. It's this beautiful marriage, this beefy flavor mixed with this wonderful tart sauce that is absolutely off the hook good. So I'll tell you what, come over this way. Let me show you these fantastic ingredients that we have, and I'm going to show you how to make the best tasting Swiss steak that you will ever put in your mouth. Come on. Guys, when you're going to be making Swiss steak, you have to start with the beef. A lot of people use bottom round for this one, or top round. Either way works really good. However, I'm going to say I prefer to do this dish with sirloin. Now, I've got a beautiful cut of sirloin here. I'm going to leave it fat on and everything. We're not going to trim it. We're not going to do anything other than just use it just as it is. Now, on our other ingredients, as I mentioned to you, we need to make a sauce that's tangy, and it needs to be rich and robust. So we need acidic items. Now, part of Swiss steak is, of course, the tomatoes that go into it, and that's one of the primary things that makes it acidic, and it's really good. So you want about 15 ounces of diced tomatoes. I have here a couple of tablespoons of tomato paste also. I like to use this for a couple of reasons. One thing, it adds to that nice tart flavor, but also tomato paste helps to kind of thicken the whole thing up. We might do a little bit of thickening at the end also with some cornstarch, just depending on how juicy it comes out. But this is a good way to get it started, and it just makes it that much more rich. Now I have an onion, and this is a good size onion here. I like a lot of onion in my Swiss steak, so I chose a big one. Yellow onion, white, red, whatever you want to use, just go with that sucker. I have 3 cloves of garlic, a couple of tablespoons, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. We're going to be adding a little bit of salt into that, about 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons. Some black pepper, about 1/2 teaspoon there. I have here 1 cup of wine and 1 cup of beef broth. You can do this with all beef broth or just water, but frankly, if you're using beef broth and wine, you're going to get that extra tanginess and a fruitiness from the wine and the nice beefy stock flavor from that beef broth. Wonderful. Also, you might want to get something to enjoy while you're cooking. Grab yourself something to drink and kick back. Wine, coffee, tea, whatever suits your fancy. Grab it and let's get cooking. This is easy. We need to start with a big pan that's got a lid that can handle oven temperatures. Now guys, the hardest part of this dish is slicing the onion. And as you're going to see here, that's not going to be a lot of work. Let's take off top and bottom, all right? And then we're going to run our knife right up the side to remove this outer papery layer that's on here. There we go. We got it. Yeah. And sometimes that'll be thicker in some places than others, but it does need to come off. I think I got too much of the root in the center there, but that's not going to be an issue for this dish, okay? What I want to do here, to safely cut this, I want to quarter it and slice it. So, I want to cut it once this way, turn it, cut it once this way. Now we've quartered it. There I go being clumsy. There we go. Disaster averted, right? Okay, now when handling that knife, when handling cutting onions and stuff, something you want to remember, okay? Number one, pinch the knife right here. Wrap your fingers around the handle, choking up on the handle, all right? Now, the reason behind this is on a wide blade like this, you need roll control, meaning this motion needs to be brought under control. Back here on the handle, it's hard to do. When you pinch the blade, it's not. You get great control on it. So better blade control by holding it this way. The next thing, keep these fingertips away from that cutting edge. The best way to do that is turn them under, just like that. They call this the crab technique. It allows the side of the blade, this part of the blade, to run up and down on the center knuckle right here. So it runs up and down on this, and your fingertips are pulled back so you're not going to get cut. And this works on pretty much everything. So, see how I do that? Keep that fingertip under. Now let me turn the onion around. Why do I do that? To keep the knife, if it's going to slide, sliding away from me. I don't want it to slide downhill toward my hand, but only away. So, there and there. See how simple that is? Let's finish that onion. And one last cut. There we go. It's ready to go in our dish. Like I said, that's the hardest part of this. So now that we're past the difficult part, we're ready to move on with the garlic, and then we can cook it. If you're one of those that when you use fresh garlic, that you have a problem getting that papery husk off of the outside, I like to just flex it, okay, like this. And this one is a really fresh piece of garlic, so the paper's hanging on really tight. But when I do that, and I don't flex it and twist it hard enough to break this part, just enough to cause the paper to break loose. And that's all there is to it, guys. Okay, don't make this removing paper from garlic any harder than something like this, okay? Now some people say they just crush it first and then they pull that paper out. You can do that, sure. You can shake it between two bowls. You can roll it in a tube. There's all kinds of ways. But I like this just because it's so darned easy. Plus you get a complete clove out that is undamaged and ready to use later if I want. Now to prepare this garlic for this dish, we have to do only a couple things. One, remove the scab off the end of your garlic. You don't want somebody finding something like that in your food. It's ugly, it's god-awful looking. Don't do that to yourself or your guest. Crush that garlic. Keep the edge of the knife facing down and just give it a crush with the side, okay? All right, the garlic is now ready to go in our dish. Okay guys, it's time for us to get down to cooking. I have a flame underneath this pan right now. This is a pan that has a lid, and that's what you're going to need, is a good open pan, a wide one that's got a lid. Casserole pans work good for this. Also, you can use, let me think here, like I'm using here a covered skillet or fry pan. Also, you can use a Dutch oven. Stuff like that works really well for Swiss steak. Now, as far as how much steak I've got over there, that's about 2 pounds worth. And that I find is really great for this recipe. That'll feed quite a few people. If you'll notice, we have all of our ingredients set up. Everything's pre-chopped, pre-measured, set up in bowls. Now this is actually called the setup method. And this is a great way of doing this. Guys, if you're going to be in the kitchen a lot, if you're going to do some serious cooking, you need to learn this setup method. That's the reason I always teach it. I teach all of my recipes this way, is through the setup method. And I do that on purpose because it works best. I can focus on what I'm doing here. I don't have to worry about something burning right here while I'm busy elsewhere trying to cut up something that needed to have been cut up in advance. That's all there is to it. If everything is ready, cooking goes smooth and easy. So do all of your cutting, prepping, and all of that before it's cook time, okay? Now my pan is coming up in temperature. Let's test it. My water droplets are searing off quickly. Okay, that means it's not hot enough. If the pan's hot enough, water will dance and skate around inside of that instead of just quickly evaporating off. You don't want it to sizzle off quick. You want it to dance in there, and that means it's hot, hot. Now, that kind of temperature, and the idea of using that is to cause the meat to brown easily. Now, we need a good browning on that meat for the purpose of developing complex flavors. I want to form this complex, intense, deep, rich flavor in this pan. Let's check that pan again. Oh, looky there. Now see how that water skates and dances around in that pan? It doesn't evaporate? That's the temperature I'm looking for right there. Wipe out any extra on the edge. Now that we have the right temperature in the pan, I can put oil in it. Don't put oil in it before that. Good reason for that. Oil, one of the reasons that things don't stick to pans when you use oil is because of the protein structure in the oil. And yeah, I said that right, protein structure. Oil does have proteins, and that's part of the lubricating properties. Okay, lots of loud crackling and popping. We're going to let that meat cook up. What we're looking for here is good browning on both sides, but I'm not trying to cook it all the way through. I'm just trying to get a little bit of flavor developing both in the pan as well as on the meat. What's on the meat will actually wash off during the cooking in the oven. It's a beautiful smell. I have two beautiful odors going on at once right here. The olive oil that I used, first of all. Beautiful aroma. And then that meat. Why did I use the olive oil? Well, just because it was the first bottle I grabbed. It didn't really matter. Olive oil, peanut oil, vegetable oil, canola, whichever you want to use is perfect for this. Starting to get browning there. And a little bit in the pan itself. See how that meat's starting to release now? Where before it was really stuck. Isn't that nice? Now let's turn it. This is going to be a dish full of delicious. You see all that brown we're developing there? That's containing all of those complex flavors that we were talking about. And I mentioned before, we're not trying to cook it all the way through on this. So for it to be nice and red in the middle still is perfect at the end of this pan-sear portion. Boy, so far what we're smelling is just beautiful, isn't it? All right, guys, we now have that browning going on the other side. Just what I was wanting. Ah, yes. Now I'm going to pull this up on the side a little bit, keeping my heat under the pan. Reduce it just a little bit. Now what I want to do is to get this paste mixed in. There we go. It's a little more quiet now. You can do this with a whisk. You can just gently work it in like I'm doing here. And all I'm doing is just getting some of that liquid to mix into this paste and to soften it so that it will finish dissolving and mixing with the rest of the liquid in this pan. I'm going to add in that wine. Not all of it. The Worcestershire sauce. How about that garlic? Yeah. Oh, yummy, yummy. Okay. And get those mixing. Pull my steak back over. Get it down in this liquid real good. Our tomatoes. You don't have to add all that juice, but you can. I'm going to. My onion. Yeah. These onions, just liberally open them up. Add them to that pan. They're going to all cook down nice and soft later on, so that's not a big deal. All right, look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Let's add in a little salt. Okay. A little bit more. You'll notice I've still got it cooking on the burner. And of course it's coming up, bubbling a little bit, and that's just perfect. We've had our oven heating. 225 degrees is where we need it. I'm going to add a little black pepper to this. Leave it on the stove for just a little bit. Finish bringing it up in temperature. Once I got a good hot bubbling action in here, I'm going to put it in the oven and we're going to let it sit there and cook until that meat becomes fork tender. Okay? Now, how long is that going to be? It's different for every piece of meat, folks. You have to learn to check the dish. And fork tender means I pull it out of the oven, open the cover, stick a fork in it, and if the fork slides out easily without the meat staying stuck to it, that's fork tender. Now my pot has come up to a nice boil. I want to shut off that burner. We'll put this right down into our oven. And good and gentle. All right. Well, that's all there is to it. It's down in the oven now. It's just a matter of going and kicking back and relaxing and waiting for dinner. There's no rush on this. Now, this can also be done, the exact same recipe can be done for a crock pot. But do the beef searing first. Clear out that pan with a little bit of the wine or that beef broth, and that way you break loose the fond and you get that down in your crock pot too. That's going to make a big difference. Think about something that you want to put with that meal of yours, okay? I'm going to do mashed potatoes, but there's a lot of things you can do. You could do rice. Hey, that's a good one. Some people like to put this on noodles. You can just do some nice green vegetables that are pan-seared or possibly grilled. Think out of the box a little bit, okay? Good food coming up. In the meantime, hey, let's go and relax and let's forget about this. Okay guys, I have pulled this out of the oven now and I've given it the fork test to make sure that it was nice and tender. See, it's hanging on slightly but not bad, and it's just at the right stage that I can go ahead and start thickening this liquid. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can do this. One would be using flour and water to thicken it. The other is to use cornstarch and water, and that's what I've done here. Is I've taken some cornstarch, the remainder of the wine that I didn't originally put in there, which was about 1/3 of a cup, add a little water to it, and then I put in about 1/4 of a cup of cornstarch, and I'm going to pour this into this. And what it's going to do, I'm going to put this back in the oven. It's going to thicken up and turn this into a beautiful heavy sauce. Back in the oven it goes. It needs about another 30 minutes in there. It's been in there an hour and a half now. There it is, guys. Hey, that's not too difficult. This is one of those meals where if you like just kind of kicking back and enjoying watching the show or the ball game, it's a perfect meal for you. It's easy to make. It's absolutely delicious. Meat just splitting apart. You're not going to need a knife for this. Oh man. Super tender. Just full-bodied flavor. a little bit tangy, just a beautiful rich gravy. Every bit worth having. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be making an absolute pig of myself on that in just a moment. It's just so good, so delicious. I'll tell you what, thank you very much for watching this show. Thank you to my subscribers. And folks, if you haven't subscribed, well, please do. I have a lot of good recipes coming, thousands, okay? This isn't over, not in the long shot. A lot of good stuff coming your way, and please share my videos with somebody. Tell you what, you folks, have a good day. Hey guys, thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today. Do appreciate it. If you would, please subscribe. If you like this, just click like down there, and if you would, I would really appreciate it if you add me to your favorites. Thank you.